everyone. My name is Andrea. I'm coming to you from HomeAway, and I'm here to help you lift your listing. Today's listing comes to us from Paul in London, who has a flat in Islington that he's renting out on HomeAway. Paul's done a lot of great work on this listing already, but I think with just a few tweaks that we can take it to the next level. Let's start out with Paul's headline. I like that it starts out with special offer right here in huge letters, really gets your attention and is going to help him stand out in search results. But in the description, Paul needs to make sure to point out what the special offer is since it's not readily apparent up front. We recommend that headlines be kept to about 70 characters, and Paul is right at 78, which is just over. To condense a bit, we can take out the 2-bedroom part. We don't recommend having the bed or bath count in your headline because that information already shows up here in the search results as well as down here in your listing. Now let's take a look at Paul's photos. Paul has done a wonderful job with showcasing his property. These photos are full of natural light and the whole place feels light and airy and perfectly decorated. I love the neutral palette with these pops of red that keep appearing, and I'd like to see him continue that into the kitchen, which is a pretty neutral zone. I think if we put a nice red tea kettle right here on the stove, that it would help carry that motif from the rest of the house into the kitchen. One other thing to note, some of these photos have captions and some don't. We recommend having a caption for every photo and making it as short as possible to describe what the photo is about. One thing that I love is that Paul has these cool photos of the surrounding area, and in the captions, he explains how these relate back to the rental unit. Now let's talk about the About the Property section, and for this, I'm going to switch over to the mobile view because it's important to keep in mind that a lot of travelers are going to be looking for vacation rentals on their mobile device. Before we get into the description, I want to point out this Book Now button that appears. Paul has instant booking enabled, which means he's making it as easy as possible for someone to book this property, and that's especially important for people who are looking for vacation rentals on a mobile device. Now let's talk about his overview. This is a great description right up top. He mentions the modern design, the proximity to local attractions, he says that it's clean, comfortable, and well equipped, and he mentions the kind of travelers that he is catering to. Beautifully done, Paul. But now look what happens when I click to get more details. We recommend that your entire description be about 700 to 1,000 characters, but Paul is clocking in at about 8,000. Now I love that Paul cares enough to provide all of this information. He's obviously a very engaged owner who cares deeply about his guest experience and wants to arm them with as much knowledge as possible. But when you look at all of this, especially on a mobile device, it can feel a bit overwhelming. Some of the items about the area are already in this map section of his listing, and a lot of this information is available in the amenities section, so my advice would be to go through the description and cut out anything that's already covered in those other sections. I do like that he has the information organized into different sections here, and he also uses bullet points. But some of these bullet points could be a bit shorter, like this one about the kitchen. Maybe instead of this paragraph here, he could just say, kitchen includes oven, microwave, utensils, blender, an espresso coffee machine, and washing machine. Little tweaks like that can help shorten this description into something a little bit more manageable. Another thing to note is that Paul has 23 reviews, almost all of which are terrific. I'd recommend going through those reviews and identifying what common threads run through them and see what the travelers are saying about his property, and use those points in his headline and his description to focus on what really stands out about his place. So just to recap, here are a few recommendations for your listing. First, try to keep your headline count to about 70 characters and avoid using that space to give a bedroom or bathroom count. That's valuable real estate, and that information can be found somewhere else. Also, if you have special pricing, be sure to mention it in the headline and explain it in the description. Everyone loves getting a good deal. Next, figure out what's unique about your property and show it off in the headline, photos, and description. Also, when writing your listing copy, say as much as you can with as few words as possible. There's a great tool called the HomeAway app that will help you simplify complex language and avoid common grammar mistakes. And finally, if you have a lot of information that you want to convey in your description, break it up into smaller, more manageable chunks by using shorter paragraphs, section headers, and bullet points. But try to keep your description limited to 700 to 1,000 characters and let your other sections do some of the talking. Paul, you're doing a great job providing a wonderful experience for your travelers, and we wish you the best of luck. If anyone else out there would like their listing lifted, please shoot us a link to yours at liftmylisting@homeaway.com, and you could be featured on the next episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.